Hey everybody, and welcome to our review for Dark Waters, the latest Todd Haynes and Mark Ruffalo movie. This is all about environmentalism, big corporate chemical companies and never-ending lawsuits. Now, it sounds very boring, but Stephen, I think you'll agree with me. We didn't know much about this movie. At the beginning of the week, we spoke about it on Box Office, on the Monday Movie Show. It appeared in the top 10. We were both intrigued. You told me the cast, and I'm like, well, we have to watch that. Yeah. There's not many great releases out just now here. Of course, Chris Stuckman and the likes reviewed this movie about 3-4 months ago. We are always way behind here in the UK. So we popped along and watched it, and look, it pleasantly surprised me. It's sort of like Erin Brockovich and a couple of other ones you mentioned. Type of movies, law heavy, and lots of great characters and realism in there. Great period piece. But look, that aside, get that out of the way, we'll go right into this movie review. Stephen, introduction. I always like to start off with the intro because it makes sense. Everything has a beginning, a middle and an end. I really enjoyed this. I enjoyed lots of the visual sort of aspects in this movie, the way that Todd sets up things, and it almost uses it as exposition and narration in a way. The introduction, the young teenagers, obviously sneaking onto this landfill and swimming around in the water, sets a tone immediately. We don't have to discuss or have narration about what's going on with this water. It's just them in the water, and there's sort of bile and stuff happening on the surface. And then it goes right to also Mark Ruffalo's Rob Bilott character. What did you make of that introduction? Did you think it was quite intelligent, like me, the way that he managed to set up the premise of what's happening in this sort of West Virginian town?
I think at that point, though, John, we weren't really sure what was happening, other than, there was some kind of, they were prohibited to have been there in the first place, but
why would you go in that water?
It was carefree 1970s, John. That's what we were all like in the 1970s, playing with frisbees at power stations, that kind of thing. Have you ever seen those public address, adverts that used to be on TV, warning us not to go near electricity and stuff like that? And water was one of them as well. Certainly these kids didn't pay attention.
Stephen, I've seen that.
Gave us nightmares, John. But listen, I think the way this was set up was very clever. We weren't really hanging about too long to really get into the meat and bones of the story. A film that's coming in just over 2 hours long. I can't remember the actual running time. Maybe
2:07.
Yeah, something like that. Just under 2 hours and 10 minutes, I would say. And just going back a little bit further before we went to see the film, John. Yeah, we did speak about it briefly on Monday's show, and I think anybody that watched that would clearly see that we didn't really know too much about it, other than who was in it. So I think I saw the trailer. I do remember seeing the trailer because being a Ruffalo fan, I was intrigued to see what this film was about. I also, you're right, Erin Brockovich, it does have that kind of
sort of environmentalism,
and obviously, the result of mismanaged corporations and stuff like that, and the cover-ups and all that. So that intrigued me as well. But the other thing that intrigued me as well from the trailer was, and I've got to say, it wasn't the best trailer I've seen. It didn't really do the film justice, if I'm being honest. Now I've seen the film. It reminded me a lot. The character Mark Ruffalo was playing, Rob Bilott, I think his name was, reminded me a lot of Jake Gyllenhaal's character in Zodiac. That obsessive nature to get to the truth, and I saw that in the trailer. I did get that out of the trailer. It also reminded me of the Russell Crowe film The Insider, which was kind of the same. Try to take on a big tobacco corporation. It was in that film. I thought that would have been really good, but it was a kind of boring film. It was interesting in the sense of what they were trying to do, and obviously take on these giants. But in this film, I don't know. I think it was just the way the director, just made this film. It made it so interesting. The pacing, from the start was it was going along at a good pace. We weren't really wasting a lot of time. It was set up very early on, which I liked. We weren't really getting to know the characters and then getting to know the story. We were getting to know the characters as the story rolled forward. So I liked that as well. But the look of the film as well, John, because of this is based on true events. We had problems with that film we did a few weeks ago as well. Just Mercy, yeah. When it's based on true events, it's just like a play-by-play drama. Yeah. This is very much the same, and that doesn't mean it's a bad film. It's a very interesting film. It's a very passionate film. I can sense Mark Ruffalo, and I know obviously his politics, etc. just now, and his views on the environment. This would have been a passion project for him. I did clock on the credits when we were sitting there. He was one of the producers.
I didn't know that.
That's one of the things I did notice, John. So unless there's another Mark Ruffalo out there, I doubt it very much.
No.
But yeah, and I've seen him doing the sort of press junkets as well, along with the actual real Rob Billett as well. So it means a lot to him, and you can see that he's put a lot of time and effort into this character as well. But I just thought that the opening, I would say the opening 10-15 minutes of this film sets it up really nicely.
Yeah, absolutely, Stephen. Look, and that's what you need in a movie of this. I didn't actually realise that he was producing it. There you go. It's probably has been a passion project of his. It's something he's maybe been working really hard at, obviously producing and getting into existence, much like we've seen with the likes of Ryan Reynolds and Deadpool.
I think the story was very hot property as well, John, because I did see Mark Ruffalo on I think it was The View or something like that. It was a American sort of daytime television show, and he did mention there was a few Hollywood producers were desperate to get their hands on this project, but I think Rob Billett, knowing Mark Ruffalo's sort of background and his political beliefs, etc., I think that sort of won him the script, if you like, And
Stephen, look, when you get a guy like Todd Haynes in, and obviously he surrounds himself with some really talented people, and also the other technical departments, likes of composing and whatnot, a fantastic composer on this movie, worked in an array of really great movies. The cinematography, we spoke briefly about that before we came on to do the review. It was strange.
Yeah.
It also had blue hints to it and whatnot. It was faded. And I'm not sure if there's maybe something deliberate going on there in terms of period, and they're trying to do something, or perhaps it's a representation of Billett's mood at certain points when he's on this farm and he's been told 190 cows have died and whatnot as a result of this toxic water. Lord knows, but look, I really enjoyed, as you did say, the way this movie was set in terms of actual period piece and whatnot, the way it was paced out. The fact it wasn't as boring as that one you spoke about, and I think the primary reason for that was the fact that we were sort of drip feeding out information as the story obviously continued on. He was learning about this company, what was going on in the various antics, and the actual audience was learning with him. I personally didn't know about Tefal or Teflon. It's not Teflon, and this DuPont company, and any of the history behind this story. So it was a real learning experience for me getting in to watch it. But look, I'm going off on a complete tangent here. We'll briefly discuss the flip-flopping. I really enjoyed that in the beginning of this movie. It's something that transpired later on in the movie as well, flip-flopping between different settings. You've got corporate sort of public functions where you have this opulence. They're all very smarmy, up each other's arses if you'd like, sipping champagne, and it's all very la-di-da. And then it flips back to sort of West Virginia, his hometown. I can't recall the actual hometown's name at the moment, but it's very poor, it's very rustic.
Yeah.
We've got farmers, we've got people's teeth falling out and they're all blackened and whatnot. What did you make of that? I thought that was, again, a really intelligent way of showing you the, how shall I put it, the conflict within the Rob Billett character, because he's a corporate lawyer and associate. He's just been made associate in this big company. They're representing chemical companies.
Yeah. I think it's very important to stress that, because that's the whole point of the situation as it is at this point in the film, John.
Mm-hmm.
There's conflict there from obviously Rob's point of view, because he doesn't want to bite the hand that feeds him. And
he's got a family as well.
At the same time, he's obviously got moral obligations as well. And the person that he is, which we'll find out later on from the Anne Hathaway character, who describes him to a T and what kind of person he is, and also from the sort of the company's point of view as well. It's everything's money orientated in this film, with these corporations and obviously the lawyers, etc., and the consequences of rocking the boat, if you like. but obviously we'll get to that. There's obviously a key scene with all the partners in the one room, which is one of the best scenes you'll see in the film. But yeah, I mean, it was set up that way. But moving on to him going back to sort of where he came from, Country Road. Yeah, John Denver number in there. It was a good sequence, John. We saw the two kids on the bike as well. I know you said that, the black teeth. I did pick up on it, and I thought something that's going to play into the story later on, because
she hadn't brushed her teeth,
because they didn't mention it. They were so black, and I just thought it's a weird shot. It's just they've went out the road to show that she's got black teeth, but it doesn't seem to be leading anywhere just now. And I said that's going to play into the story later on. I know it is, and it did. But there was also a kind of slight embarrassment from Rob's point of view on his sort of background as well, and where he grew up. There was a few sort of exchanges early on in the film between him and the Tim Robbins character. And I think the Tim Robbins character said,
"You can be from West Virginia, I'll not tell anyone," or something.
Yeah, something like that. And then he went for his dinner, So I think he was kind of trying to forget his past. He's this big shot lawyer now, a partner in the business. But I think it was his grandmother that actually put this farmer onto him. I think that's why he had such an obligation to help them as well. The fact that it was his hometown, he still had family connections to it. So if it was affecting this farmer, then it was obviously something that was going to have wide-ranging ramifications for his grandmother and perhaps other members of his family in this town. I really liked that Take Me Home Country Road driving sequence again. It's almost visually again, this director showing us everything gnawing away at him. He's not decided whether he should represent the farmer. He's been told about the cows dying, and he's seen the bleached stones and whatnot. He knows something isn't right. As you did say, he's got conflict with him, and he's still got his career to think about, a family to provide for. That was just again a beautiful, just taking it from the intro where he sets up the tone of the story, what's happening with the water. That was again a nice little visual moment. Not a lot of words says in it, it's just the music playing, and then it's like home calling to him. Take me home. He comes home and he tries to redeem what's happened in this situation. He's obviously got guilt gnawing at him for representing this DuPont chemical company. Really liked that sequence. We then go on to that next sequence. I speak about opulence. Obviously this big sort of public function. This Phil guy that represents her as the head of DuPont, he's been very nice and icy and sort of false with Rob up until this point. He's been saying, don't worry about it, I forgive you, and things like that, because he's looking into obviously his business and what he's been getting up to in this town. There's a confrontation there, and he sort of mass slips, and he's calling him a hick. And you speak previously, Stephen, about him obviously being embarrassed about his country origins and want to leave it behind for this new shiny life as an associate lawyer. I think this is why we see that sort of hesitancy in revealing where he's from, because there's a reputation for country folk in the US. They called hicks and whatnot, kind of a disparaging looks gave to them. So I think that's probably why he was slightly embarrassed. And again, he calls him a hick and says to him, "Sue me," and he says, "Well, I'm suing you." I really enjoyed that confrontation. I liked him finally growing a pair of balls and stepping up to this guy and saying, "Look, what you're doing's wrong. I know what you're doing's wrong, and I'm going to come after you for it." And that really set the tone for the rest of the movie, because it's introducing some of the players. Tim Robbins' character, I think it's Tom, Rob, this Phil guy, his wife, and then this sets the tone for the sort of lawsuit being instigated. And we then go on to the filing box room sequence as well, which I really enjoyed. But what was your thoughts on the confrontation? This Phil guy, did you immediately think he was a bit of a TIT? Well, I think the first meeting, between both of them, both Rob and Phil,
very nice and easy.
Yeah, they were, they had a bit of communication between them, very diplomatic. But you knew at some point that was all going to kick off, and it did at that public function. John, you're right. For me, you described it perfectly. I don't really want to regurgitate what you've already said, but for me, that was the point of no return. Obviously, for Rob, at that point, he knew what he wanted to do. He knew what he had to do, and Phil, as I said, he was rattled at this point. That's why he came out with those outbursts and stormed off, because he knew this wasn't going to go away now. And this was the thing about DuPont as well throughout the film. They were so clever in burying the truth. This almost played like an X-File, without obviously the extraterrestrials or anything like that. But just the conspiracy and the cover up. But obviously more grounded, more real than an X-Files episode. But just the sort of investigation and how things are unfolding was very much like one of those sort of Monster of the Week episodes, But yeah, I mean, I thought this was a nice setup, and you're right, the filing box room scene was obviously set up in a way that they knew they had all this ton of paperwork that
dating back 40 years or something.
It would put them off, and they would just, it would just sort of frighten them away from, doing anything about it because there was so much of it. I've worked in lawyers' offices, John. They like their file boxes and they like their files. I used to be an archivist for one of them, so I know what that's like. The paperwork, the dust as well.
Oh,
especially 40-year-old. I was actually dealing with 100-year-old paperwork and stuff like that. The smell of it, the stir. I think that's why he chased that lady out of the room as well. One of the other lawyers who I think was pregnant. I think that was
give you COPD and stuff like that. Yeah.
So so it was. It kind of showed you his sort of character as well. That he was very meticulous. Patient as well, which you would have to be with all this paperwork, because I don't think it was any much order. It was just boxes of paperwork, reports, photographs, statements, etc. But I don't think any of it was in any chronological order. And he took all the time. You saw him all laying it all out in the room. I think it was like a semicircle he had it in, and he had all these labels for all different
years and stuff like that.
Yeah. So it kind of showed you Rob's character as well in that scene. It was very important, I felt.
Stephen, look, you actually touched upon it previously. There's also a moment with Anne Hathaway's wife in the movie where she reveals just the nature of this man. I genuinely believed as I watched through this movie, at the start perhaps not so much, but by the end, that this guy had some form of Asperger's, that he was on the spectrum of some kind. Sort of, not a lot of friends round about him and whatnot, kind of a one-track minded. And you see that where he's got this determination to just crack this case no matter what, post-it notes and things like that. I mean, that would completely overwhelm a normal person. But as we see throughout this story, this guy is almost subhuman. It's like a subhuman, sub-god. I don't superhuman. There you go, that's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Sub-god. He's almost godlike in his determination to see this company get their comeuppance. But yeah, I really enjoyed that sequence. I thought it was fantastic. Yeah, just the visual side of it was almost like a Liar-esque thing. It's almost surreal. You've got box upon box, and obviously Tom's sitting trying to host a boardroom sequence or meeting, and it's all going by and it's putting him off. At one point round about here, we actually get the famous last words from Rob as well, where he says it's a small matter for a family friend. They'll be in and out. It'll be quick. The story then takes place over about 20 years or something like that. So it was anything but quick. And I actually says that watching it, I'm like, that'll be famous last words. I bet this goes on for an eternity, and it did. But Steve, moving on swiftly, there is a eureka moment not long after this. He's going through all of these archival sort of files. He discovers a baby. It's actually via the baby book. Later on, I think he looks and it dawns on him that there's chemical water and stuff. Then he sees the Teflon
there's a few clues
pan.
in there,
There's a couple of moments. I'm getting ahead of myself slightly, but just seeing the Teflon pan, and he realises, Jesus Christ, this chemical, this C8, I think it is.
I mean, this is obviously after we discovered the initial issue is obviously as with the farmer, and obviously his cows, and that kind of hit home with me. I didn't expect it to unearth even more tragedy. But obviously with the reveal of his cows, dying, having tumours, and he kept all this as evidence. Blackened teeth, just like the little girl.
I should have put two and two together.
Well, the clues were there, John, but it's obviously in hindsight. When you're watching the film, you're just concentrating on the moment and trying to piece it together. I felt the first maybe 30 minutes of the film was a bit, I'm not going to say over the place, because I think what the director was trying to do was let the audience experience what Rob was experiencing. He was trying to piece things together. I felt the farmer, I found them hard to understand, John. And this is coming from someone from Glasgow, and we get plenty of comments about our accents. People think we're Danish for some reason. I found his accent very thick, and at times I couldn't understand what he was saying. But the bottom line was there was something going on with his farm. There was a landfill that DuPont had been involved in. It was affecting his cows. It turned out it wasn't affecting just a few cows. 190 cows
190 cows
were buried, John, and
I
we
think
saw
we're
the
a better
graveyard.
man.
We actually saw the the field of all the shallow graves for all the cows. I thought that was very powerful.
And the
that
dog.
moment. Yeah, the dog as
Dog
well.
was
Yeah.
getting drove a little bit batty as well. Stephen, it was powerful, and also you feel for the farmer and his predicament. He's also battling cancer later on as well because of it seeping into the water supply. And then also, as I did say, the reveal of Teflon and whatnot, it's a sort of eureka moment for him.
Yeah.
He goes home and he speaks to his wife. His wife's been very patient, but sort of a bit bitchy as well. I disliked her at the start, I can't lie. She's not very encouraging. She wants to keep the equilibrium and keep the money coming in from these big chemical companies. But he sits her down and says, look, I'll tell you all about it. If you don't believe it after that, then we'll be done with it. We'll never speak about it again. And I really enjoyed that sequence. There's a number of sequences in this movie that I do enjoy, but that one was just beautifully constructed. Visually, the narration of Mark Ruffalo, framed through various different conversations. He's speaking with his boss, Tim Robbins, obviously Tom, I think his name is in it.
Yeah.
I hope it is.
Yeah.
He's speaking to his wife, he's speaking to the farmer, and he's almost revealing everything that's happened, everything he's discovered to them and the audience. As you did say, I really enjoyed the way this movie was structured. It wasn't boring, it was almost like a mystery litigation movie. It was like Erin Brockovich, but it had a almost Columbo-esque layer to it, where he's peeling back all of these different things. We're on the journey with him. He's almost like the audience's view into the story. Every movie has a character, and it's Rob in this. So I enjoyed that journey we went on with him.
I think that, just like we were saying, I think, the first 30 minutes of the film is a little bit over the place, and deliberately so. Obviously, when Rob sits Sarah down to explain what's been happening and what DuPont have been up to over the past decades at this point, it was a great sequence. The way it was explained was very simple for laymen like herself who weren't aware of this story. The other thing that kind of shocked me about this story as well, John, this wasn't a long time ago.
No,
it's very recent. And I think a lot of it's still going on as well. I think a lot of the sort of legal stuff's still going on as well. But yeah, I mean, at this point, just sitting down, and him explaining to Anne Hathaway's character Sarah the consequences of what they're doing will continue if something's not done about it, and it could affect their own child and their future children as well. I think at this point she was pregnant with her second at this point, because I think they had a toddler at this point in the film as well, John. But I thought that whole sequence was absolutely brilliant, and I thought it was a very clever way to sort of break it down to the audience exactly what's been going on, and sort of it was like putting a jigsaw puzzle together, and seeing the bigger picture, and at that point you knew exactly where the film was going to go after it as well, so I thought it was great.
It really was, Stephen, and as you did say, that lay the foundation of them now, him, and obviously with the help of various others, really going after this DuPont company, and obviously Phil as a spearhead in that, because he was the primary player. I've briefly mentioned the harassment of the farmer and his family, the helicopter coming down and whatnot.
It's only a couple of minutes long, that sequence, John.
But I felt so sorry for him. He's lying outside.
It's a tragedy,
and he's got the nonsense of losing half his livestock. He's having to deal with cancer. His wife's battling something as well. I think that's also cancer. And then he's been harassed by these idiots. So again, it's just beautifully shown us that these are the most despicable human beings you could possibly be introduced to, and then that's obviously setting the tone where you want to see them getting their just desserts later on in the movie. Did miss the reveal via the baby book, the black teeth, and obviously the little girl that pays back to her, what you spoke about previously. I missed it, her having the black teeth. That revealed it was in the water. This was a real epidemic in this town, wasn't just restricted to the farm animals. Just the way they utilised flashbacks and flip-flopping from different places, it was really well handled in the main, this movie. I enjoyed the structure of it. I've then went to see obviously Sarah pushing Rob to go after Phil DuPont. As I did say, the previous sequence, him sitting down with her, that was the sort of, the catalyst for going after this company. She changes her tune as well. She was firmly against him pushing it further. Now she's trying to force him into taking it even further, go after them, basically chastising them to take the case, basically. I mean, what did you make of Anne Hathaway in this movie in general, Stephen?
Yeah, John.
I hated her at the start, as I did say.
Yeah, I mean,
as she developed into the movie, though, I thought it was a really good performance, and the character I could see through her perspective what
I think,
situation was.
I don't want to repeat what you said, John, but I do agree with what you said as well. But the other thing that concerned me was they've got someone like Anne Hathaway. I think she's an Academy Award winner.
She may be. I'm not sure.
But still, I just thought they're underutilising her here. You know, that first 20 minutes or so, I just felt surely she's not just going to be the wife of Mark Ruffalo in this film, and that's it, you know. And she's just going to be a nag, you know. I would have been absolutely raging with that
First
because,
Man. That was the same. I don't know whether she won an Oscar, Stephen. I'm actually trying to find out just now.
I can't remember, John.
She did.
Yeah.
Les Miserables.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. I know a thing or two. I don't know what it's for right enough, but I knew that she was up there. But yeah, I mean, I just had those concerns, John. Certainly in the first 20 minutes of the film, I just thought they're underusing her here, you know, and I felt surely she's going to have a wee bit more of, more, a gritty role, you know. So, I think, as the film went on, her character got better, more involved, and she became the sort of moral compass for Ruffalo's character as well, and kept him grounded. Sort of pulled him in when she felt he was going a little bit too far. But yeah, I mean, there was a sort of there was a flip side to her, by the end of the film from what she started out as. You're right. I mean, she's thinking more conventional at the very start, about the good paid job. Got to make sure our family's looked after. We've got a baby here. We've got another baby on its way. Let's just be a safe family. Don't upset the apple cart in any way. And that can be an annoyance for a viewer. Especially when you know what. Obviously, Rob knows. But as the film goes on, she becomes a more likeable person as well.
Yeah.
And Anne Hathaway's performance in this film as well was absolutely brilliant, absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, Stephen, look, I completely agree. As I did say, I hated her at the start. Hate's a strong word. And I'm probably being harsh on First Man as well, because it's much like this. She's got this guy who's thrust into this profession. He's completely dedicated to it. And she's holding the fort with the children, the family, and she's having to deal with the consequences.
Well, I think she's had to put her career on hold as well, John, so I think that was mentioned early on as well. Yeah,
so she's having to deal with all of these things. She's having to deal with the fallout, the consequences of
Tom was very dismissive of her as well at that function. Did you notice that when she was trying to talk to him?
Oh, yeah.
Kind of turned her back. He turned his back on her a couple of times, which I felt was... And I think it was a class thing as well, John. I don't think it was just obviously because she was, a female. I think it was... They looked down, I think, on Rob and Sarah because of their background.
Yeah,
and obviously, exactly. And it was well documented.
Stephen, look, we're the Hicks of Britain. Let's be honest. So Scots get looked down upon all the time. So I completely agree. I can completely get on board with the prejudice and the mistreatment of the poor Rob or Billett's family. Yeah, that's what I'm going to go with. Billet. Whether it's right or not. Yeah. But look, they were heavy into religion as well, Stephen. They were going to church a lot, and I still don't quite understand what that was about. Perhaps that was to show that they were morally rooted. And again, it's probably shown why he got so involved in this case and wanted to do the right thing ethically, morally, to help this town out. But I was a bit confused about the elongated sort of... Well, not elongated, but long sequences in chapels or churches, whatever you want to call them. We don't call them chapels over in the States, let's be honest. But yeah, Stephen, look, we spoke about it briefly before, or you did, I didn't, the boardroom scene, one of the standout scenes in the whole movie, because up until this moment, it really has been a one-man fight. Rob has been left doing everything himself. The actual law firm that he works for were off doing different things. Tom wasn't really interested. He was checking in every now and then, but for the most part they're probably still off obviously working for these chemical companies. So when you see that boardroom sequence, him outlining what he's going to do, the lawsuit, I think it's looking after the ill people as well throughout the course of their life. If it's found that they are complicit in the illnesses that these people are having, there's a lot of bickering back and forth. There is one character in particular whose name completely eludes me at the moment. I would probably have to open up IMDb to find out who he was. It was James Ross, played by William Jackson Harper. Yeah. He's a little bit annoying in this movie for me, Stephen. But you said something intelligent, which I
for a change.
No, don't mean like that. Which I never thought of, and you're absolutely right. Doing something different with obviously a black actor coming in and being put in a role which some directors and some studios would maybe shy away from. We've seen it with, obviously, Quentin Tarantino in Django, where he did it with Samuel L. Jackson. But you thrust a person of colour into maybe a dislikable role, and he takes it. I mean, he's a really accomplished actor. He's been in Midsommar.
Directors are very wary of doing that these days, John, in case
of PC going mad,
yeah, a typical, put the black man in the bad role, It doesn't
he's not bad,
it doesn't have to be that way. You don't have to look at it that way either. At the end of the day, it's a room full of lawyers, and that's it.
And he's an arse licker.
And they're lawyers. They're all the same in that room. Apart from maybe one or two. But it was a great scene, John. And I felt the actor that played him. I can't remember what he said, John. The
Jackson Ross Harper.
Yeah, I don't really know too much about him. I think he's done some TV work, but I don't really know.
Midsommar. William Jackson Harper. Jackson Ross.
I don't really know too much about his background, John, other than in this role, he was there thinking from the sort of corporate point of view. And obviously a solicitor's point of view on be careful what we're doing here. We don't want to bite the hand that feeds us. And there would have been, most of them in that room would have been thinking that way, but didn't have the courage to speak up and say it like he did. I didn't agree with what he said. In fact, I think he was actually trying to get Rob to actually admit he's an informant.
Yeah.
And he says, yes, I am. You see that was actually in the trailer, so that wasn't too much of a surprise to me. The best part about this scene for me was Tom standing up to the lawyers in that room and question whether or not any of them actually had read any of the evidence, because I doubt very much they did, John. No. They just didn't want to rock the boat with one of their I don't know, was DuPont one of their clients?
It was, they were. Yeah,
so
that's why he was saying I forgive you and things like that, Phil, earlier on in the movie. Stephen, you're right. There was a brief sequence with him earlier on in the movie at that public event, the gala, where he said something quite smart arsey, and I took a dislike to him because I thought you're a bit of a sycophant, you're a bit of an arse licker.
He was very condescending, I felt.
Yeah, and then as you did say, he's trying to get him to admit that he's using inside information and he's almost informing on this company via this lawsuit, and he says right flat out, yes I am. It put me back to the scene with Phil where he says sue me, and he says I am suing you. So there was moments where Rob could be a little bit mellow, and then there was moments where he grew a pair and he was quite forthright with his views.
The character was very black and white though, John. It was no nonsense, and if you asked him a question he gave you a straight answer. So
yeah, absolutely. And Stephen, that Tom takedown was beautiful. I says this to you before we came on, and just watching the movie, the first sort of 15 minutes you're introduced to Tim Robbins as this sort of head figure in this law firm, and I says immediately I'm hooked to this movie just because of Tim Robbins. I love the guy. I've loved him all the way back to obviously the likes of Shawshank Redemption, playing Andy Dufresne. The guy's just solid in every movie he's in, and he's solid again in this. He's not in huge chunks of a movie, but he's used very intelligently, and when he is there he commands your glance, your attention, and I thought he was fantastic in that sequence. He slapped him down beautifully, and again that's a real sort of triggering moment for the whole firm to get together and go after this company, and that takes us into the court sequence with Bill Pullman, who I don't think was in the movie prior to that. I hadn't seen him, and he pops up and he's absolutely magnificent from the very get-go. He's out there, he's very charismatic,
lawyer,
and he's slapping down the prosecution. Are they the prosecution? No, they'd probably be the defence, the DuPont, and the doctor who comes up, and he's just throwing one-liners about, and I just thought he was great. What we had of him, he's chinking sort of champagne glasses and saying, give us more. I really enjoyed his performance from what we got. What did you make of the court sequence, Bill Pullman as a whole in this movie?
At this point, John, Bill Pullman was excellent. I've always liked Bill Pullman, whatever he's in, from Spaceballs to Independence Day. He's always Lake Placid as well. He's always a very good actor, depending on the role. He can do comedic, he can do drama. I don't think we see enough of him, to be honest with you. In this film, he was bang on for me. He was
like Ray Liotta in Marriage Story.
He just comes in does his thing, and then he's away again. But he's so memorable. And just touching on the court scenes, John, I thought this is when the film was going to turn into the courtroom drama. This is one thing this film is not about. There's not a lot of courtroom action at all. Not as far as I was concerned, not as much as I thought there would be. That's what I felt about the film with Russell Crowe, The Insider. Great cast, an interesting plot, but I felt the courtroom scenes were just too long. The film was too long and winded. Winded. I just felt they handled that quite well, and I think they were probably conscious of that as well, that they didn't want to drag the pacing down either, because once you're in the courtroom, that's it. The sort of, you can keep the dramatic effect going, but the pacing of the film has to slow down at this point, because
it's very regimented.
You're contained in the one room.
Yeah.
So I felt it was a great scene. I felt it just set up where the rest of the film was going to go after it, and it just wasn't. There wasn't too much of it. I don't think it went on for more than 5 minutes.
No, I don't even think it was that long, Stephen. A couple of minutes, 3 minutes maximum, maybe. But it never overstayed its welcome, and I think that's something we see time and again in this movie. Quite compact sequences and scenes. They don't overstay their welcome. It keeps the pacing quite even and reasonably quick paced, and that's again another big plus point of this movie. I really enjoyed the way it structures, as I've said time and time again. There isn't much courtroom sequences. It was much like Just Mercy, where you're flitting in and out of courtrooms and judiciary hearings, I want to call it. Most of it was character driven and showing you the hardship of these people, the struggle and conflict of this guy, the effect it was having on him. Just briefly speak about the sort of out of court arrangement settlement they come up with, because it's quite pivotal for the end of the movie. They get together, there's someone chairs it, they say, look, we'll leave it in the hands of science. If they discover that there is any connection with DuPont and what they were doing with this C8 chemical, and also the ailments and illnesses of the people of this town, then they would have to settle out of court, and then it gets left to them, and it drags out forever and ever and ever, 10, 12 years or something, I don't know. And then also that's another sequence we see. It's very short and concise, but it's sort of law-centric. So again, they don't overstay their welcome in the main in this movie, and I liked that. But Steve, moving on to Mark Ruffalo, we cannot do a review of this movie and not speak about this guy. He was the heart and soul of the movie for me. I've said that this is where this guy really shines. Movies like this, and that's not being disparaging of his portrayals of the Hulk, just his presence in the MCU, but he's sidelined. He's one of many sort of cogs in a greater machine in that sort of cinematic universe. It's movies like this and Shutter Island and whatnot where he gets to really splay out his abilities and show what he's all about. He's a fantastic actor, and this performance is incredible. His transformation from a sort of, I've said here in the guideline, a mellow careerist corporate associate to a determined lawyer fighting for the little guys. He goes from fighting for the big guys to sort of David and Goliath, turning and fighting for the little guys, and he really goes through a journey. You follow this guy from the beginning to the end, and he's absolutely drained. He's having strokes, borderline strokes, and he just portrays it all beautifully. It's just a fantastic performance from him. I thought it was fantastic and just incredible. I've
always been a fan of him, John, even in these rom-coms, which I don't particularly like. He did one with Reese Witherspoon called Just Like Heaven, I think it was called. It just, there was a bit of comedy in there, for a rom-com. It was more sort of comedic, and he was so likeable in it. You're right. Shutter Island, I actually forgot about that one. That was one of the ones that I took notice of, that in Zodiac. But you can be excused to think, that after those films, obviously the Bruce Banner stuff would sort of overshadow it. I don't think it does, and that's not doing a disservice to his Bruce Banner portrayal either. He's a fantastic Bruce Banner, but this guy can act, outside obviously the MCU. And you're right, his performance in this film, it just seemed to be a character that just wanted to, at the very beginning, just have I don't want to say an easy life, because obviously, I think being a corporate associate, it's never going to be easy. There's going to be a lot of slog involved with paperwork, etc., and procedures and stuff, and a lot of reading and all that jazz, but it just felt like he fit into this sort of middle class life, if you like, a step up from his humble beginnings. He was quite contained and quite content on how much he's progressed in his career. You can see that, he's got the family life, he's got a young son, and he's got another one on the way as well. He's got a wife who had a career, she's put it on hold. So I think Mark Ruffalo's performance from those early sort of I want to say early scenes, but you're maybe talking about 5-10 minutes of that kind of life, and then the farmer turns up and everything changes. And the progression of the character as well was down to Ruffalo's performance. Just the way everything's unfolding, his his investigation skills, kick in as well. It keeps it very interesting. But Ruffalo is obviously the actor that's carrying the film from beginning to end clearly, But I just felt it was very excellent, in this film. Very excellent. It was excellent in this film, and right up to the very end, And you do mention here, this is where the man really shines, in these type of films. I totally agree. I think that's, whether it be Shutter Island or Zodiac, these type of films that are kind of dark, and drama heavy seem to suit his, his skill set, if you like.
And Stephen, it helps when you are surrounded with equal calibre actors like Tim Robbins and Pullman and Hathaway and whatnot.
Yeah.
It brings the game up exponentially. But Stephen, again, I think it's just they really go into the man's soul. This sort of country instilled spirit within him. It's a sort of indefatigability, I think is the word I want to use. It's very long and winded. It's a hard word to say.
He wants to obviously defend,
never gives up,
defend the little man,
Yeah, but as you did say, Stephen, as well, obviously he is a sort of careerist associate.
Yeah.
And whilst it won't be an easy job, it's a lot damn easier than fighting for little impoverished people who are fighting against a big machinery, cog sort of chemical company.
Like
it's a lot easier. Yeah, I mean, it's much easier to fight for these big companies. You'll win more and it's a nice, easy life. So he took a real risk, coming out of his comfort zone to do what he did. And I think that speaks, obviously, a lot for the man's, I don't know, his personality and his never say die attitude. And also this is based on a real guy, so hats off to that chap for fighting for these little people in this town. He's a great man. But look, I'm going to move on before I dig myself a hole. To the time span of this movie, Steve. No, actually, no. We will speak about time spans, but briefly before that, another fantastic sequence. The 7-hour interrogation committee scene with the doctors. I thought that was brilliant. Again, it shined a light on the human side of this story. That this isn't just one man fighting a big corporation. This is about real lives that have been impacted. Real children have been disformed and disfigured and whatnot. I really enjoyed that sequence, and again it shows you the journey this man's went through. He's seen shadows at the side of his eyes, he's scared to switch on his car, he's been emotionally affected and psychological. There's trauma going on there, there's turmoil in his life.
This is the scene, John, where the DuPont sort of representatives stand up and say we're done or something like that. Yeah, that's a great sequence, John. This is the peak of the film, isn't it, really? This is the realisation of their crimes, absolutely despicable. Very angry at me as an audience member. You do get caught up in the emotion of the film. You feel very frustrated at times because, we're working people, we're the little men, and there's actually there's a line in there, I think. Yeah, it definitely has an effect on Rob's mind, as well as obviously, physically. He's obviously, I think it's a stroke. He suffers.
The oxygen gets cut off to his brain, and you see that in that sequence as well. He starts developing a sort of shake, a tremor.
It's a gradual thing as well, because I think it's when he's out driving with the family. But the line, John, I can't remember it. I don't even know if I can paraphrase it, but it's to do with obviously there's a system in place that's supposed to protect us, but they're using the system against us, and the realisation is that we've got to look after ourselves. We've got to deal with these things ourselves, not the system. Yeah, the system is rigged. They want us to think that it protects us, but that's a lie. We protect us. Or something along those lines. Yeah, I mean, that was a great line. And Stephen, again, I just really enjoyed the whole aspect of this movie, the story of this man, his indefatigability, the fight for the little man, the human side of it, the way it was visually shown to us, what was going on. It was just really intelligently handled. Yeah, but before we go into the time span of the movie, John, there is something just at this point, because you're right, scared to start the car. It was very much like The Irishman. Yeah. These exploding cars all over the place for informants. I thought there would have been more threats to his life and his family than there was in this film. I can't remember if there was, actually, apart from some maybe verbal. There was a couple of houses setting fire, but I don't know if they were linked with him. Yeah, directly with Rob, there wasn't anything really, was there, apart from some verbal threats and stuff like that, and meetings and stuff like that. But I just felt there might have been a little bit more, but if that didn't happen, obviously, in real life, then
you can't make it up.
You can't make it up,
Well, you could have. You could have had some
dramatic effect, yeah.
You could have had some artistic license in there, but also they've chose to go down the realism route, and who can fault them for that?
No.
Stephen, time spans. I mean, as says, you spoke about The Irishman. This is borderline Irishman. I'll not say what I actually wrote, but it's almost Irishman levels.
Yeah.
It's well. I mean, I think you says the 70s, but when you flip forward to the actual...
kids are swimming in I think it's, I don't know.
Yeah, that's definitely the 70s or something.
77 or something like that.
But when you actually flip forward to him taking on the case, I think it's 98.
98, yeah. He's using a public phone box.
Yeah.
Something I actually forgot, that it was set in 1998 when he was going out to lunch with the other associates. He says, I've got to make a call. And I'm like, why do you have to be excused from lunch to do that? I'm assuming he's got a mobile phone and he heads to
they would have had, but it would have been huge.
He would have needed his briefcase to carry it in, but I just thought, well, why is he going to a public, I went, oh, it's 1998, I forgot,
Yeah, and Stephen, look, also it ends in 2015, so that is a 17-year time span.
Yep.
It's not quite Irishman, but if you factor in the beginning, it's 40 odd years. It goes on for a long, long time, and I thought the way they used title cards to show the years gone by, the children growing up, it's very quick, but it's great. It shows you time is flying by. This scientific panel have not came to a conclusion yet. They obviously have skipped by the testing of people, 67,000 people line up, and again that shows you the fighting spirit of that country, West Virginia in town, where they could have took the easy get out the settlement and walked away with some money, but no, they want to get justice for the people that have passed away from cancer, for the other environmental issues that have been going on. They all band together, they take blood tests, try and bring down and get this corporation, this chemical company, their just desserts. I thought that was really well handled, the time jumps. And again, you show the human spirit of the human side of this story. What did you make of the time span? Did you think it was jarring? Or did you think it flowed pretty well like me? I thought the whole movie flowed pretty well.
Yeah, the only thing that really changed was Ruffalo's hairstyle.
Yeah.
It kind of went from sort of side parting to a sort of forward sort of thing. The change in the years. But apart from that, and a little bit more grey hair. But apart from that, it didn't really bother me. I think the indication was obviously in the kids growing up, and that was as thingy as it got, The technology there's little hints of, I think there was an iPhone in there at the very end.
I like the Windows 2000 opening.
Yeah, little things like that. It was just little subtle things. It wasn't too obvious. It wasn't going all Austin Powers with flares and all that and Groovy Man and all that. So it was very subtle, and I didn't mind it at all, John.
Oh, look, I didn't either, Stephen. I thought it was pretty intelligent the way they utilised it. But look, Rob's vindication. We finally get results from this scientific panel. They vindicate Rob for his hard work. There's a clear correlation between this chemical company and what's happening with the diseases, the cancers and the other environmental issues. He thinks that it's all over. There's real emotion on his face. I like the sequence where he walks out, he goes home to his wife, they hug. You can see again the performance from him, the contemplation in the car. He goes out, has a meal, a celebratory meal, and then DuPont reveal themselves to be the ultimate, to quote Paul McCartney, jerks of all jerks. They renege on the agreement and they want to fight it case by case and drag it out even longer. They don't want to do the good thing, proving that they are the sort of...
You know what they're doing there, John. They knew in the end that they'd have to obviously pay out, but the sad factor in this is that these people are unwell. The DuPont have got time on their side. These people haven't, sadly. And it's just a case of, well, they've got families, they'd have to obviously answer to them, but it's just... It kind of summed up the whole sort of attitude of these corporates, chemical companies, etc., and their arrogance, and thinking they're untouchable. But you're right, John, it kind of just showing them up for what they were all about and what they really thought of the American public as well. Yeah,
absolutely, Stephen, I completely agree. The ending, though, we have to come to the end. Some people will be glad, some people will be sad, but look, Rob batters the efforts into submission, I've said, in the guideline. He finally gets settlements from this company. It slowly increases. I think it's like 1.5, then it's 3, then it's 7. Then finally, I think they settle out for about $600-700 million.
Yeah.
It really ends there, abruptly. And as you did allude to previously, there's not elongated, drawn out sort of courtroom sequences. he stands up, the judge recognises him and says, "Oh, look, you're still here doing it." And he says,
then,
"Yeah, always."
And then we kick into the title cards, so all the things that happen.
It's like Judge Mercy again.
Yeah, I don't mind that at all, John. And sometimes you get the sort of original footage of the real people, not the actors, you know. In this case, we didn't, but it didn't bother me. You know, the title cards coming up and telling you exactly what happens in the next few years. Obviously, you know, the farmer, he passed away during the film as well, I think. He didn't get to see, obviously, the end result, sadly. But you know, for obviously his, you know, family and stuff like that, it was very important. But yeah, I mean, the ending was, I don't want to say abrupt, but when you look at the film as a whole, there was this massive build up to the end, and then it was kind of just not cut short, but it was just settled very quickly, which I didn't mind. You know, I didn't think I was getting robbed of anything. You know, I didn't think they could have drawn this out a bit longer. In fact, I probably wouldn't have preferred that. You know, I think getting to the point at this point was probably the right decision. Well,
Stephen, I think there was two endings. I think the final ending, the actual end of the movie, was sort of to draw a line under sort of historically what happened. That he did get a conclusion to this. He got a settlement from the company, but I feel that the movie itself, even though there was humanitarian things going on with this town, this battle, I think it was more about Rob himself, the journey he goes through, the change from being a corporate lickspittle, for lack of a better word, I don't even know what that means, I hope that's correct, to a sort of fighting for the little man, the David v Goliath side. It's this journey of this one man, the sacrifices he's made, he's not been around for his children and whatnot, he's been completely focused, and then when he gets that justification, that vindication for all of his actions, for his hard work from the scientific panel, that is the real ending for him. He's been vindicated for all his hard work, getting through health issues and whatnot. So I wasn't too fussed about the actual end with the court and showing you historically all the settlement figures, because it was really about Rob in the main this movie, and I thought that was right, because Mark Ruffalo was the absolute standout performer in this movie, so it was good to give him his just desserts, if you like. Overall thoughts on the movie, Stephen? What did you make of just maybe some technical aspects? Did you think, I mean, I thought it was really well shot in the main, this movie. I thought the score was fantastic. I need to get the actual composer up. I don't know who it was, but he is a fantastic composer. I'm trying to find him furiously here.
Yeah, there was...
Marcelo Zarvos.
Oh, yeah. But I think, my overall thoughts on the film, John, I thought the film could have been better marketed. Yeah. Certainly in this... Well, I'm saying certainly in this country. It's one of these films that the topic is, you know, obviously based in the US, and unfortunately people over here are not going to be that interested. I would say it's probably vice versa as well. You know, if the film was, or you know, the story was set here, I don't think it would appeal too much to the US audience. But I just felt the trailer that we got was okay, but it didn't really tell us exactly what was happening. It didn't tell us, you know, the DuPont side of things or anything like that. It was quite a dramatic trailer. It was an okay trailer, but I just don't think it did the film justice, and the whole overall marketing campaign. I don't know what it was like in the US. I can imagine this would have came out round about the time of the likes of Ford v Ferrari, Parasite, etc. So it would have been very under the radar, I felt, you know, because the film's not going to have a big budget, you know, because it is a drama-based film, so it's not going to have a massive budget. So I just felt the film, after I was saying all that, exceeded my expectations. It was just a brilliantly made film. It was a very interesting film. How factual it is, never know, but I'd say it's probably pretty close. If obviously Mark Ruffalo was working very closely with Rob, I can't remember his second. You know, on this project, then it would have been as close as it came. There will obviously be some dramatic effect in there as well, which you have to have in any film. But my overall thoughts was it was a very, very good film. Yeah, Stephen, look, I can't really slag off the studio too much for not really pushing it over here, because we actually seen them. I don't know who it was. It did First Man. I keep going back to First Man, but it's similar. It's a sort of US-centric story that's designed for US audiences. They pushed it over here. It never really caught on with UK audiences, so maybe they've seen, look, that didn't work. This is a similar type of thing. It's a period piece set in the US, very US-centric. Doesn't matter whether we promote it or not, it's not really going to hit over there, and it'll go under the radar, so can't really blame them too much for that. But overall thoughts on the movie,
I thought Todd Haynes did a fantastic job of really balancing a whole array of different things. The journey of Rob, the humanitarian, environmental side of things, this horrific story of DuPont and Teflon. I never even was aware of Teflon. The only time I'd heard of it was through REM, and now it conjures up a whole new meaning for me, the actual word Teflon. So just the way he balanced all of this, you get some really great performances out of the actors, most notably obviously Mark Ruffalo. It really did surprise me. I really, really enjoyed it. It came right under the radar for me.
We ended with obviously Johnny Cash's "Won't Back Down," obviously the cover of the Tom Petty song.
Didn't even mention,
which kind of summed up Rob's sort of characteristics.
Yeah, I didn't even mention Waylon Jennings as well at the beginning.
Good soundtrack,
a really close friend of Johnny Cash. So a real good country soundtrack underpinning a really good score as well. Overall, really enjoyed the movie. I thought it was surprisingly damn good, and a real, again, confirmation that Mark Ruffalo is a pretty damn good drama actor. Yes, he can do those theme park movies, wink wink, as Marty Scorsese would say, but he's a fantastic drama actor as well. But look, I ain't got much more to add to it, Stephen, unless you have.
No.
That's going to round up the review for Dark Waters. Have you seen it? When did you see it? Was it 3 months ago, like Chris Stockman? A wee way behind. Are you in the UK? What did you make of it? Did you enjoy it? Did you hate it? Were you indifferent to it? If you have anything to say about it at all, you can comment below and let us know what your thoughts are down below in the comment section. You can also like the video if you've enjoyed it, and you can subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying the content. And if you do, then you will see us again on Monday for MBE Movie News.